Okay, greetings and welcome to another ThatAnna Talks live stream. I'm very excited today because we finally have Anna from ThatAnna YouTube channel. Unfortunately, she had to cancel last week because of flu, but she is back as scheduled this week. How are you feeling, Anna? You're all rid of flu now, eh?
Yes, a
And ready
lot
to
better.
go.
Thank you very much, darling. Yeah, a lot better.
Excellent. And you've just moved house, so internet connection seems good at the moment, but it may be a bit dodgy, but it seems good. Your audio's good, the camera's good, everything seems
Yeah,
fine so far.
yeah. It's just tethering off my phone at the moment, so hopefully it will stay strong, but we'll see.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I've been really looking forward to this. So,
Yeah, me too.
just for my viewers, maybe Anna, if you just want to just quickly describe your YouTube channel, how you got into doing YouTube videos, and what your channel videos are about.
Yeah. I started YouTubing properly earlier this year, and I mostly talk about the transgender issue or gender ideology. That's an issue that's kind of been very contentious over the last few years. I would be what trans activists would coin a TERF, which means I know what sex is, I know you can't change your sex, I don't use preferred pronouns, and I make a lot of videos on what's going on in the gender ideology throughout the West. But I do touch on other issues such as immigration and other cultural issues. So I'm kind of branching out at the moment, but mostly at the moment my videos are focused on gender ideology.
Awesome. Yeah, you're quite unique actually in that way that you've kind of got a passion for this sort of one topic, but yeah, you do
Mm.
branch out into other things. The videos that I've seen. But yeah, you're very passionate about your cause from the videos that I've seen.
Oh
So,
yes.
so today, what we're going to do is we're going to take one step closer to healing this political divide, this toxic political divide that we have in this country, where we just seem to hate each other in comment section. And we're going to do what people I deem don't seem to do enough of, and just have a conversation instead of
Yeah.
arguing in a comment section. And most likely we're going to disagree on topics, and I'm sure we'll be surprised on how much we actually agree on at the same time. But the point of the thing is, we're just here to talk, and we're going to share each other's opinions, and we're going to listen. So I guess the first thing I want to get your opinion on, Anna, and I've got some thoughts on this, and I'll share them afterwards. But where do you think this started with this bitter hatred, this divide that we have in this country? Where do you think it stems from? And
Oh, that's quite a question because there's various different ways to look at it. When we look at things like critical race theory and gender ideology, that all kind of falls under the Marxism umbrella. And a lot of universities have a lot of Marxist type professors, and they educate the new generation of leaders, HR advisors, all sorts of things. So they've taken their politics into the institutions, and it
so you're
has
saying
influenced our culture. Oh, big time.
education.
It had a massive influence on the way that the younger generations, our generations, even the generations before us, have this kind of more radical view of the world, very through what would be like a critical justice lens. So gender ideology, the climate change, critical race theory. It's all very complicated, but for me, a big part of that is from the education system, and
So you're
it's
saying for you, it's also a generation thing. It's the divide from the young and the older generations as well. Is that what you think is
yeah.
where the main divide is, the
If you
generation?
notice, progressively, it's gotten each generation has become much more radical, as you would say, to the left, and not so much to the other way, to the right. And that's been pushed really by education, by people with an agenda. When you look to critical race theory, you've got Kimberly Crenshaw, you've got Derek Bell, and critical race theory was actually a legal fringe theory that for some reason then got pushed down into the Ivy League schools and then to other kind of universities and then across the pond, to us throughout Europe. And it's now become widely popular and used and abused, quite frankly, as a way to divide us. And I'm not really for that. So what we were brought up on, you know, the colour blindness, or, you know, you can notice someone is a different colour, like, for goodness sake, unless you genuinely are colourblind. But you know, you would take a person's content of character over what their skin colour is. That's how I was brought up. I'd imagine that's probably how you were brought up. You treat people respectfully, with common courtesy, and you judge them by their actions, not by, you know, skin pigmentation.
Yeah, I don't want to assume, but I think we're probably around the same age. I don't want to assume your age.
I'm 31.
Horrible. Okay, I'm wrong then. I'm wrong. I'm a lot older than you. Sorry. Well, we're both in our 30s. Right. I'm at the higher end, and you're at the
so we're in the
end.
Same generation.
Yeah.
You know?
So that's interesting. So you're pretty much on the scout that it's definitely a generational divide, and the divide that we have in this country is young versus old. It seems to be where you're at. I mean, I'd agree with that to a certain extent.
I wouldn't say it's necessarily like the old versus the young. You know, you've got aspects of that, but this another term that I'll use in replacement of critical justice theories is intersectionality. So I will bounce between those quite frequently. But this intersectionality has gotten stronger with the generations. So now those who are 10 years younger than us, for example, are much more left-leaning radically. And our generation was fairly left-wing. Gen X probably a little bit more to the right. You know, it seems to have gone in that direction. But you notice that the amount of kids that end up going to university, and, you know, other peers that don't, who do hang around with such people, they get kind of bombarded with this message of critical race theory, gender ideology, and it's just kind of widely accepted now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've got my problems with the educational system and the universities anyway. I mean, my main gripe with universities and the things that you're talking about is that it's a profit organisation now. I don't think profit should be anywhere near education, and the fact that kids are customers to universities now, and they need to keep their customers happy. The customer's always right. Yeah, so if kids want to use pronouns, or they've got some teacher that said something anti-trans and they want to try and get her fired, the university is going to be behind them because they're the customer. Okay, they're paying thousands of pounds for these university courses. But I want to rack it back to this divide in this country. So I'll give my thoughts on it. I mean, social media is the biggest drive of this divide, in my opinion. Even when you go back to, you think like the early days of YouTube, you used to have like atheist versus religion debates and stuff, and everyone would find a side. They'd find their team on social media, and arguing on social media is just it's a sport now. It's become a hobby. It's a pastime. Oh, I've got a couple of hours. Let's argue with some people on Twitter. Yeah. Yesterday, I saw someone on Facebook arguing about a sofa. Someone had put a sofa for sale, and there was about 100 comment thread about how they shouldn't be selling it because it's disgusting. What are you doing? You know, this is what people are doing with their lives now. They're just arguing about absolute rubbish.
Yeah. So I'm just going to stop you there for a second because I've seen a comment that I really want to ask.
That's right. Yeah, go ahead. If you see any comments you want to go ahead, then go ahead, please.
So Samantha's saying, disagree with Anna on gender ideology as trans women are women, but agree with CRT wokeness. Okay, what is a woman, Samantha? Without using a circular definition, what is that? Anyway, sorry, I just, because, you know, people use that and it's a ridiculous saying. So I just have to respond with that.
Okay, all right.
But, yeah, sorry.
Okay, yeah. So social media, I think, is a driving force for this divide in this country. Also, no, go on.
Yeah, sorry. Would you say, like, since YouTube's inception, would you say that there has been a limit to the freedom of speech on the platform? would you say that there's been an
On
inequality?
YouTube?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, without a doubt, you can't question it. I mean, especially when you go back to the pandemic and you know, comments being deleted that were any sort of anti-vax or anything. Yeah, it's YouTube is not a free speech platform for comments by any means. It's not. It's not.
No, I've had a lot of my own comments on my channel deleted.
You
know,
but you know, it depends. What I think there's a place for that, but I mean, at the end of the day, YouTube is a business, and they will run the business how they want. You know, as long as free speech is still out there for us to talk on different areas, but YouTube is a business that makes money through advertising, and if their advertisers are not happy with people commenting about anti-vax stuff, there's not much they can do. It's a business at the end of the day.
Well, I think with social media being such like a town square, certainly with like Twitter, Facebook, I know Facebook's a bit like, oh, for the boomers or whatever, but people still use it. And a lot of our politicians being influenced by what goes on Twitter and YouTube and general social media, do you think that there could be a problem with censoring people on social media?
Well, politicians shouldn't be taking their ideas from Twitter, basically. I mean, Twitter to me, I can't stand the place. I think I have I have a Twitter account. I don't use it. I don't follow anyone. I set it up because there was a couple of live streams that I'd done where that was the only way to communicate with them. I think Twitter is the worst form of society, modern day society. It's the modern toilet room wall where anyone can just put up whatever they want with no comeuppance, and even sometimes not even meaning what they say. They'll just go out to have an argument or just say something extreme. And
didn't we used to call that trolling though? Now it seems to be a case of if you make a joke like Dankula done, people are like, it's not trolling, he means it. It's just like, does he? It was a joke. Do you see what I mean? So it can get very confused. Certainly when it's like, I mean, I remember, like, I don't know about you, having the old phones which you just text and called on, and things would get lost in translation there. And now we could do it so much faster. And, you know, back when I started as a teenager and going on 4chan or whatever, and you knew a lot of it was just shit posting and a lot of trolling. And now it just seems to be like everyone takes it seriously. Like, there are a lot of nasty things out there, a lot of nasty things that have been said about me, but I'm not going to call the police over it. You know, there's real crimes that could be dealt with. Hurty words are not one of them.
No, well, police should be nowhere near going to people that have put tweets out. And well, I mean, I could go in about the police force.
Oh yes,
hours
too.
About exactly. Well, they've just been stripped bare for the last 12 years. They're not run properly. They've been underfunded. So what's the easiest way to put their arrests up? Go and find someone that said something hurtful on Twitter. Yeah, it's a lot harder to go and find a burglar and try and, you know, look for evidence to try and convict someone. It's easy to go around someone's house where someone's complained about something on Twitter and arrest them. They need those arrests up because they've got quotas. And
they've got quotas, but you know, I think it's the problem with you know, policing now. Again, that's another institution that has been ideologically captured. You can cause somebody anxiety. How true that is, because how you measure anxiety is very subjective, person to person. And I mean, Caroline Farrow, who is a Catholic journalist, actually got arrested in front of her children, 2 of which are young and autistic, not knowing whether mum was going to come home, because they basically were like, oh, we think you said some things online. She didn't. They've got no evidence for it. But otherwise, Mr. Smith down the road's just been robbed and, you know, all his worldly possessions are gone, and they won't do a damn thing. You know.
Well, this is exactly what I'm saying, Anna. The police force have been stripped bare for the last 12 years of cuts. There are 200,000 less police officers on the streets now. For the last 12 years, the institute has just been stripped bare And like I say, that is the easiest way to make arrests.
Mm.
Finding that burglar is difficult. I mean, I could go on even further about how I think the drug war and everything like that is just a complete and utter waste of time, and how I'd get rid of that. But that's a conversation for another day. But I want to go back to this divide in this country, because
Yeah.
social media, like I say, is a massive driving force for it. I think it's stepped up another gear with Brexit, which just completely divided this country in half. I'm not going to go on for ages about a Brexit debate, but that was another stepping stone for me that just really drove a wedge in this country. I mean, it literally split the whole country in half.
But do you know what? Want to know something funny?
Okay.
I voted to remain.
I know. I think, yeah, you told me that. You told me that in the conversation. I wasn't going to assume that you did. I mean, it's 50-50, isn't it?
Yeah,
pretty
it was.
much.
Yeah, I was more liberal then. Knowing what I know now, I'd vote to leave just on the basis of democracy spoke. Yeah, but there's also a host of other reasons why I don't agree with the EU. I don't want my laws being dictated by a different country. That is the main
what
thing.
laws in oh god,
they
this
do
is going to turn into a Brexit conversation.
But
though,
you know, on the basis that you know, they dictate laws, they're an unelected bureaucratic government, and being more right wing, I want less government. I do not want some people that I haven't elected being in charge of my country. It's bad enough we've got the Tories, and you know, as a Conservative voter, they are not Conservative. I don't vote for them anymore because they are just not Conservatives at all.
Well, they're not. They're certainly not what people voted for in 2010. The David Cameron style conservatism that was tightening up the purse strings, cut back on benefits, that sort of thing. They're well, I mean, Liz Truss over the last week is just, I mean, everyone in this country should be calling for an election right now, because she is doing what no one wants. These insane.
They shouldn't have kicked out Boris. The Tories are kicking themselves now. They shouldn't have kicked Boris. And I'm not a fan of Boris, don't get me wrong. The only thing I like about him is that he's funny. But he's not Conservative.
Not necessarily what I want in a prime minister. But
no, but that's it. He's just clown world.
Yeah.
Personified.
I couldn't stand Boris. I hated him. If you look at any of my earlier videos, I knew when he went, whoever would replace him would be worse. But Liz Truss right now is not implementing what Tory voters voted for in 2019. So every single Tory voter should be up in arms right now at what they're doing. These recent tax policies are insane. In the last week, they've cost the country £65 billion with the drop of the pound and the imports that costing sky high amounts of money. These guys are insane. Everyone in this country should be calling for an election right now.
I mean, to be honest, I don't know what's worse, Labour or Tory. I just think they're both the same in regards to how dysfunctional they are. And I don't like this whole two-party system, you know, when we've got, you know, it's either, you know, the South Park episode. Do you watch South Park?
I'm partial to a bit of South Park.
Yeah. Have you seen the episode where they have to vote? It's just like, it's either you're voting for a giant douche or a turd sandwich. We were at that point. We were at that point a long time ago. And the only one that I would have been happy to see get in after Boris Johnson was Kemi Badenoch, because she knows and appreciates that there is a massive cultural problem. Like we're discussing now, there's a massive divide between us. There's no unity whatsoever, and it's getting worse. And I think that Kemi Badenoch would have made a hell of a lot more of a prime minister than any of these other Tory bastards.
They certainly needed something drastically different, because Liz Truss was just Boris Johnson government. But I'm so happy that you brought that up about the two-party system, Anna, because that was going to be the exact next thing that I was going to say that divides this country, our political system. Just by the sheer nature of it, red versus blue, Labour versus Conservative, we only have the choice of two. And we're exactly the same. This is why we experience the exact same problems that America has, with our country being divided, and we have these social culture wars. It's exactly the same as America. Other democracies in Europe don't have this, because they have a proportional representation voting system where you can vote for different parties. They don't just have the choice of two. and every single vote matters in a proportional representation voting system. This archaic first past the post voting system is causing so many problems in this country. I mean, it's just not democratic. I mean, 2 million people each election vote for the Green Party, and they have one MP. And you flip it on the other side. If you go back to 2015 with UKIP had 6 million people voted for UKIP in 2015. They didn't have a single MP.
No, it's not
They
right.
got one MP that was Tory and then defected to UKIP. You know, what's democratic about that? In a country where you have 65 million people and 6 million vote for UKIP and they don't have a single representation. You know, this voting system that we have is a massive part, what I think, of why we're so divided, because it's just Labour v Conservative, and the problem,
we all hate each other.
Exactly.
I mean, the amount, you know, I have personally had, I'd say threats. I've had some very nasty things. When I was pregnant, people on the Labour side would hope that my child would be stillborn and things like that. It's psychotic. That's not normal. That's not normal behaviour. I don't want anyone on Labour side to go through a fucking miscarriage or a stillbirth. How grotesque is that?
Well,
we're dehumanising each other.
This is what the problem is, because it's just the choice of two. The Labour Party consists of someone who I'd like to deem is, you know, centre left, a reasonable person.
Yeah.
And it goes all the way to your extreme communists. You know, it's they have to.
And you do not want the communists. You do not want the communists.
Exactly, it's exactly the same on the other side with Conservative. Okay, you've got your more centrist, even European, pro-European Conservatives back in David Cameron's day that go all the way to your right-wing extremists. And
what is right-wing extremism, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, economically, what we've got right now, where it's just complete and utter individualism, where the only priority is big business, and anyone that's suffering down the bottom is just completely ignored. Economically, you've got right-wing extremism right now with Liz Truss, where she's giving breaks to bankers. She's reducing the tax for people that earn over £150,000 a year. She's given an extra 25 grand to Cristiano Ronaldo every week in tax breaks. How does that help the normal people in society? How does that help you? How does that help me trying to pay my energy bills? It's just, it's an ideology that is geared only to prosper the rich and the billionaires. Economically, that's what right-wing extremism. You want to take
is there not a sense of like me and you? Like I work part-time, you work full-time. Okay, I'm not in the best position, granted, and you know I certainly do believe in having a safety net. What I think of universal credit is quite interesting, I guess. But
yeah,
is it not down to people to better their own prospects in that way?
Of course, I'm 100% behind hard work, and you know the sense of well-being that you get when you go out and work every day and earn your own money. But this is the problem that I have with the benefit system. Yeah, it's annoying when Julie down the road is scabbing the social. She can work and she's off on a jolly on the taxpayer's dime. Yeah, it's annoying. It's frustrating. But for me, that is low down on the pegging order. When you've got the Chancellor, Kwasi Kwarteng, who's just fucking rich,
isn't he meant to be superficially black?
£65 billion in 1 week that man has rinsed from the UK purse. Yeah, 32 billion on test and track system for COVID that didn't work. Dodgy PPE billions of pounds on dodgy PPE contracts that Tories gave to their mates, not the people that could do the job, but their mates.
But that's cronyism, isn't it?
Julie down
that's
the road,
corruption. Yeah.
Julie down the road scabbing 20 quid a week off the soap. Yeah, it's annoying. I don't like it. I pay my tax. It's annoying.
Yeah.
But that's low down. That's really low down.
The what we call benefit scroungers are not the problem here. I totally agree with you in the sense that it is the ruling class that do, you know, it's one thing for them, I think, to, you know, because I'm all for lowering taxes wherever we can, if we can lower taxes, but certainly when it comes to working under and middle classes, because, well, the thing is rich people do create jobs, and that's a good thing. We need more well, we need to have that prosperity, and you know, we need to have that kind of inspiration to go, well, actually I could fucking start my own business, I could do this, and you know, prosper for your own family. But no, I agree that this kind of cronyism is a massive issue.
And that's where what we've had in this country is, you could say, two extremes. We need to come back to the centre. Okay, you can say Labour under Jeremy Corbyn was, you know, a far left regime, and this current Tory party are too far to the right.
Oh, see, I don't agree with the fact that this took, like, maybe politically and economically speaking, but they play so far to the left culturally, which is where, to me, the problem really lies, because politics is downwind of culture. And this is where our divide is. This is where we're always at each other's throats. And that's causing a problem. I mean, when you look at the Tory government in what it is right this second, how many of them are actually qualified to be there? How many of them are actually right for that job? Or was it a case of
the pool has been completely depleted in the Tory party since Brexit, because anyone that was pro-European, it doesn't matter if they were good at their job, they were ousted out. And then Boris Johnson comes along and he puts in a cabinet that basically is just full of people that are stupider than him, because he doesn't want to be looked bad because he's so fucking stupid. The pool is depleted in the Tory party, really depleted. You haven't got anyone there any good. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, I say economically the Tory party are very right wing. When you look at immigration, Rwanda, all things like that, I'd say they're stamping their fist down in that area. So I'd see that as right wing.
What's your opinion on the immigration issue we have right now?
Okay, so what, people coming over the channel from France, that situation?
Generally immigration from the mid-90s, I guess. Or...
Well, I mean, if you want to talk about right now, with the one that's in the news at the moment, with people coming crossing the channel, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we have two problems in this country at the moment. We have an insane lack of labour. Since Brexit, no one's working the farms, no one's working in the kitchens, no one's, especially farming. And Brexit was mainly about trying to be independent, you know, and growing our own food and not exporting everything and being self-sufficient. But if you don't have the labour there, how do you achieve that? So I see a lot of labour needed in this country, and I see a lot of people wanting to come and work over here. So I'd get them over here on the farm, set up really good dwellings for them, teach them English, and get them working and get them paying taxes. That's what I do. But most importantly, when you're looking at these people that are over in France, they're refugees from the countries that we've been bombing the shit out of for the last 20 years. I feel like we have a bit of responsibility to help these people. We've been bombing Iraq, we've been bombing Afghanistan, we've been bombing Yemen, we've been bombing Syria. And I don't think we can really complain when these people want to come over. And we've been bombing the shit out of them. It's other European countries that have been taking the burden. Germany, Sweden. I mean, Sweden have been taking too much. They've fucked their country. But that's our, in my opinion. We need to shoulder a bit of that burden. And I don't want extreme immigration. I don't want millions of people coming over here. But in a nutshell, I see a lot of labour needed in this country since Brexit, and I see a lot of workers over the channel wanting to come and work and pay tax.
So, realistically, those immigrants are not refugees. They are coming from safe countries like Albania. And also, a lot of them, I'd say about 95%, quite easily are fighting age men, and you're not fighting for your country. Then we've got to shoulder that. And it's not the people at the top that suffer. It's the likes of us. We're the ones that don't get picked for the jobs because they will do it for lower wages. We have a massive problem with shipping these blokes into places like Leicester in the sweatshops for modern day slavery. I have a problem with that. I don't like slavery.
The way the government are dealing with it, I'm in complete agreement. I think we can both agree that the current government, the way they're dealing with it, is terrible. Absolutely.
And the fact is, we're cancelling. A hotel has just cancelled weddings to make way for these so-called refugees.
Yeah, exactly. Why are we putting them in hotels? Why are they not?
Well, why are we not deporting them? Really? Because they broke into our country illegally. Or if somebody broke into my house, I wouldn't be inviting them in for a cup of tea again. Do you see what I mean?
What if we bombed their house in the first place, though?
We didn't bomb their house. The government may have done
I understand
things, and I absolutely agree.
There are people from Albania, like you say, but there is a large amount that are coming from those countries that I mentioned: Yemen, Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan. And when
it comes to refugees, you go to the first safest country. We are not the first safest country. They were in France. That's a safe country. And they were coming through. They have been channeled through. It's been shown on TikTok. There are businesses making a lot of bank. Human trafficking these blokes over it. Yeah. I don't like that.
I know. I don't
like it.
Terrible. And you notice that this is coming back to Brexit. I have to do it. This is ramped up since Brexit, because when we were in the European Union, the French government had a duty to take them back to France. Now we're outside. They don't give a shit. They don't have to do nothing. They can just, okay, you want to go to England? Go to England. No. But there's many reasons why these guys want to come over to England. One, a lot of them speak English. Two, you can get away with working over here unheard of.
And what does that do to our population of young men and women, middle-aged men and women, working age men and women that want to work and can't because these jobs are taken up by immigrants working for low wages? What's the employer going to do? Pay lower wages or pay higher ones? Doesn't this displace us? Doesn't this displace, and especially for the legal immigrants who come over here, who do these things, they're suffering as the result of this too. Not just culturally, but economically. They're going to get fucked over. And I've got no problem coming over here legally and you're not committing any crimes. You want to integrate with our society. But when you're coming over here, you pushing your own stuff on everyone else. It's like, that's not how that works. But also, what's my train of thought?
I know what you're saying, Anna. And one thing that we can definitely agree on right here, 100%, is the way the current government are handling this is terrible. We can both agree on that. We can definitely differ on how many people should be coming over and things like that. Yeah. And
at the moment, none should be coming over illegally. We have natural borders, and we are taking in a lot of people. They are given £170 a week spending money. I don't have 170 quid spending money a fucking month, and they're getting it for free off my tax money.
Yeah, exactly. It's the way the government is dealing with it. This is the way the Tory government are dealing with it. They're not proactive.
But I don't think the Labour government would be any better. In fact, I think there'd be more's the better. I just don't think there's any way, Labour or Tory, that we're going to face this issue unless we can actually talk to each other about what this is doing to our country, what this is not just economically, but culturally. And we cannot forget how important culture is to all of this. Because I'm sorry, when you see certain demographics that are coming over here and there have been a higher rates of sexual assault, that's a problem. That's a fucking massive problem. That's not what we do here. There's a cultural clash. I don't want that in my country. I don't care how much tax they pay. I don't want to see any more of our girls get fucking raped and tortured the way that they have for the past 40 years.
I'd have to step in and say, I mean, don't British people rape people?
Yeah, they do.
I mean,
but the extent that these grooming gangs, the extent in these groups, which I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, that are predominantly of a certain religion
Muslim
and country,
grooming gangs. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, disproportionately represented by them, and that's a problem.
There's also a major problem It was big in the 80s with Tory member grooming gangs and
exactly.
paedophiles. And
Unfortunately,
in this world, unfortunately, we have...
they are the ones that we have to deal with. But the ones we're getting here illegally, coming over here and trying to push their own culture on us, that it's acceptable to do this to these girls. No, absolutely fucking not. I don't want it happening over there. But at least I can fucking do something in my own country. I worry for the state of what's happening.
What do you think about how I started this conversation about immigration, where I said, yeah, illegally coming over here, no one likes that. But what I'd be doing and what I'd propose is, like I say, we have massive amounts of labour jobs that English people don't want to do. I'm not talking about
got to do it.
No, there's just physically not enough people, Anna. There's just not enough people. The farming jobs, there is so many farming jobs, and we just don't physically have the amount to do it. And since Brexit, the Europeans, they've gone. We don't want them. They don't want to come back. We've made our thoughts clear what we think of them.
Have we noticed that there's this is where it starts getting more towards the cultural thing? Not taking these jobs, people think there's something better, that they're better than this, and we have kind of bred this, generation narcissists for a lot of the point. They think they're beyond being a binman, they're beyond being a farmer, when these jobs are actually really important. And actually, if you can get a job as a binman, it's fucking good hours and it's good pay if you can get it.
Surprisingly clean as well, because you shower about 5 times a day.
Exactly. It might be a bit smelly for all of 5 minutes, but you'll be all right. But it seems to be a problem. Certainly jobs which are technically, it's not technically, tend to be done more by men. There's not a whole lot of manly men out there anymore, not willing to do these jobs, the unskilled labour. My dad was a mechanic. All of the men in my family have done physical jobs. They've always done jobs like that, and they're manly men. But there seems to be a lack of blokes willing to take on this job. They feel like they could do something a bit more feminine, as it were.
Well, I don't. I mean, you're the expert in gender and things like that. But I'd say I think just the work market has just changed massively over the last few years. Young people are finding out that they can earn money trading Bitcoin and doing a YouTube channel or streaming on Twitch and playing video games, actually get paid to play video games. I think just the work market in general is just completely and utterly changed.
There's been this influence of, this cushy lifestyle of, being an influencer and all sorts of other, there's so many various different other influences, but we're not encouraging certainly our young men to take on these jobs anymore, to be the provider, to do what it takes to earn money. And that's like my dad grew up on that, and he didn't have a dad. His dad died when he was 2 years old, but he had his Uncle Harry and various, and he knew that was kind of like, well, I've got to do something, and it's going to be, if it wasn't the army because he was blind as a bat, it'd be a mechanic. And we just don't get a lot of boys growing up to be men to take on these roles anymore. I think that's a problem.
Yeah, like I say, that, I mean, that really is your area there, Anna. It's not my expertise on gender and I guess demasculating men is not an area that I know too much about. So I mean, maybe that might be an influence, but I don't think I'm educated on that topic.
I'd love to talk to you about that.
But I would say that the workplace, and over the next 10 years, the workplace in general is going to change drastically. I mean, automation and AI. I mean, supermarkets are always the easiest one to go to. 20 years ago, you had 50 odd staff on the checkouts. Now you have one on the self-service. It's just,
and we're allowing it to happen.
But it depends how you look at it, because there's two ways you can go with that automation. And you can either go the ultra capitalist route, where all that profit, where that money that they don't have to pay to staff anymore is going straight to the owners, or you tax them more. I know you're not too keen on that taxation, but you tax these companies as if they were putting extra staff, and then we have like a universal credit system where people can get money. if
we're working towards a universal basic income, I think, at this point, and
exactly.
I don't think that's healthy. For the human mind, that is not a healthy way to go.
Well,
you need to do something with your life.
It all depends on the way you use it. You can use it terribly, or you can use it where everyone just does part-time work instead of full-time work. And they pursue hobbies, and they pursue. But I'm totally with you. That can go down a really, really dangerous route where people are then insulated. They don't leave the house. They're on their computer all day long, and that is not a world that I'm into. But you know, we got some really important choices to make in the world going forward.
We do, even just the little ones. Like if I do go to Asda or something, I don't use self-serve. I go to a person. You know, I want a personable service. I want to keep them in a job because people need work. We need to earn money. And the more that we keep using these automated things, which most of the time you sit there, it's just like unexpected item in the bagging area. No, it's not. There's not. I promise you. I just looking at one comment. Oh, there's quite a few. It's wannabe.
Yeah, I apologise to the comment section. I'm still getting used to live streaming.
Do I think COVID was bullshit? No, it is real. It is real. Just so you know, I don't think COVID was made up.
Yeah, we're not complete nutters on it.
You know, how we dealt with it was completely insane, but no, COVID
well,
is...
I mean, as we're kind of on this subject, it kind of goes back to the political divide as well. I don't know about you, Anna, but when this pandemic first started, like many other people, I thought, wow, we're finally gonna start helping each other, and we're going to be nice to each other, and maybe this divide that we have will be healed, and we'll start talking to our neighbours, and everyone will start helping people out, which did kind of happen for like the first week or so. But then it just went drastically the other way, and then it was even more divide. You've got pro wearing a mask, no wearing a mask, anti-vax, vax, and it just went even worse in this bloody divide that we have in this country. I really did have hope at the beginning of the pandemic that we might sort of...
No hope, I'm afraid. It got worse. It got worse. And look, if you want to wear a mask, by all means, wear a mask. Don't expect me not to take the piss out of you at this point, but you can take the piss out of me for not wearing one. You know, we can all take the piss and whatever. I think it was very disproportionate. I've watched a recent documentary, very interesting, worth having a look at, that the drivers behind this so-called pandemic was more political than it was to help us. And I don't like being used in such a way. Thank you very much.
Hey, there was obviously some dodgy shit in there, but we can go down a massive rabbit hole with that one. Definitely, certainly. But I'll tell you what. Let's go on to the because I'm gonna
get a glass of wine. She's not clear enough productive to have a conversation with. Suck it off, ma'am. Oh, you're so nice. I love you too. I'll be right back.
Okay. Please be respectful, guys, in the comment section. We've got... it's the most important thing, isn't it? I find that one of the worst things about this culture war is just the fact that no one actually has any substance in their arguments most of the time. People just shout out abuse. It's just rubbish. All right, let's have a little look at the comments. With UBI, will we still need physical options? My body cramped crutches over laptop during COVID. Okay. See, this is what happens when I read the comments. You just end up reading like someone's conversation that they're having, and it's not like a direct question or anything. You're halfway through. But yeah, I want to move on to this woke culture that seems to be such a massive thing. And I guess it was how you first got in contact with me, Anna. Was it? Did you see the video that I'd done about Paz, or was it?
It was the Paz video, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, basically, my position in all this is that they're obviously, I'm not going to deny that this concerns a lot of people, and you know, it gets so many views on YouTube that a lot of people are obviously concerned about this. And I do know that there are serious problems in this area. You know, anyone that gets fired from their job because of a tweet they put out is absolutely disgusting. Or, you know, there's so many examples where there's some really nasty thing, or a teacher at a university that says something that might be deemed as anti-trans gets sacked. You know, these things are horrible. But I guess the main problem that
what
I have
is
with
anti-trans? If you could define that for me, just so I know where we are when we're talking anti-trans.
Well, no, it's something that someone deems as anti-trans. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. If someone wants to get someone fired for something they deem anti-trans, that's obviously wrong, and it's not good. But what the problem that I have with this woke culture, and what seems to be exploding on YouTube right now, is I just feel there's a lot of fuss about areas that just don't seem important to me. Like I just said about, you know, I go on the news and I see 65 billion pounds shoved up the wall by our chancellor. I see 32 billion pounds spent on dodgy PPE contracts and corruption and all this stuff in the government. And then I go online and I see everyone's complaining about the Little Mermaid being black, or you know, Halifax using pronouns on their badges, or Holly and Philip skipping the line to go see the queue, and my brain just explodes. I'm like, all this corruption is going on right now. This government have just wasted 65 billion pounds of our taxpayers' money, and this is what everyone is online complaining about. And like I say, I generally understand that there are real important issues in this area, but I just feel that they get clouded by the rubbish, the stuff that I don't deem important. And I think what happens is, because once you start making money on YouTube, it affects the output that you put out, and you're chasing those views. And you know that if you put that story out, you know, you might deem it trivial yourself. If you put that story out about Holly and Philip, if you put that story about the Little Mermaid, it will get you 50 to 100,000 views, and you'll make 100 quid off of that for that one hour that it took you to film. And it just feeds the beast. And I think it hides the important issues, that some of the ones that you brought up yourself, Anna. I think it clouds some of the more important issues in this woke world, when just every single stupid story on Twitter, some student has done some crazy shit. Some student
literally
here
throwing shit stupid over a memorial. That was classy.
Exactly. And it just frustrates me, really. And I've done a video about Paz, and I tried to, as much as I can in that video, to not attack him personally. I said in the video that I'm sure he's a really nice, a genuine guy, and I said that in the video.
Decent
but
bloke,
what I'm doing is just attacking his content, and he's putting videos out on YouTube, so you know the guy is going to get criticism.
Exactly.
Course,
you know, I can see here, both of us, you know, we are oh, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm so sorry, my brain's going again. Dull. You know, we can put out content. It doesn't mean we're free from criticism, and nor should there be. If people want to call me Facebook mum, a bitch, whatever, I don't give a shit. You know, you're free to criticize what I put out there, my beliefs, whatever. But this is the importance of what we're doing now, is actually talking about these things. Now, I can definitely tell you a bit about why people are getting up in arms about things like the race swapping and the gender swapping in movies and culture and things like that. It's because it is part of a bigger design. It's an agenda to be pushed. Little Mermaid, for example, I think it was it Danish? Very, very white. And we have nostalgia from the original Little Mermaid, right?
Oh, come on.
No. Listen.
Seriously, a grown man getting his knickers in a twist over the Little Mermaid being black.
Because it wouldn't
unless
be
you're
so
a mega
bad.
Little Mermaid fan, I understand. I mean, if he's been waiting for this film for 20 years because he's like a mega Little Mermaid fan.
If it was a genuine case of they hired the right actress for the right job, fair enough. But this stuff isn't being pushed. This stuff isn't being organic. It's a case of forcing it. And there's a difference between, you know, I'd say that the UK is a very accepting and tolerant country, whereas a lot of other people think, oh my God, no, we're racist, we're all these various different things, we're fascist, even though we fought
No, I don't believe that. I don't
fascism and all
believe that.
the, you know, we fought fascism and God knows what else. But it's because there's an agenda being pushed, which is the problem. And people don't like that. People don't like being forced into that. Like, if they swapped out the Blade character, right, for a white guy, people would kick up because it's not authentic. It's not authentic at all. People like that authenticity. It's all about, I mean, Hollywood are creatively bankrupt anyway, and people are sick of it.
But it's a remake, right? It's not like
It's
a
a live
continuation
action.
of the story.
It's live action.
I don't know. I don't give a shit about the
No, me
Little
neither.
Mermaid.
I don't watch
really
films anyway.
don't give two. But I get it when it's like a historical inaccuracy. So, like, say an Abraham Lincoln film comes out and he's black or something. Obviously, that's ridiculous if it's a historical thing. But
yeah, but we've already seen that with the Anne Boleyn thing. And again, if it was just organically done, I wouldn't give a shit. But because I know there's an agenda behind it, which is racial division, which is what I don't want, which is what most people don't want, we're sick of it. We're sick, you know, well, I say we, I can only speak on people who agree with me, that we're sick of, you know, this kind of, we're going to push this in your face because, well, a lot of these producers, directors, Hollywood and entertainment industry, they have this agenda to push and people just don't like it. If I went for a role as Aretha Franklin, how fucking ridiculous would that be? It would be ridiculous.
But I mean, at the end of the day, I think this should be just a supply and demand thing, really. I mean, if people are sick of this shit, they won't watch it. I mean, I reckon the Little Mermaid film is probably going to tank, it or whatever, if that meant people are pissed off about it. But
and
I mean,
Halifax with the pronouns thing, that is, people are, oh, it's just pronouns. Look, pronouns are not for the identified; they are by the identifier. So if I see a bloke in a dress, I'm going to say he. I'm going to say him because that's a bloke in a dress. I see you. I'm not going to ask you your pronouns. That's not how language works. And there's this element of freedom of speech, right, which is a massive problem. Is that this one thing is there's things you can't say, but when you are compelled to say things such as, oh, I see this hulking great big bloke in a dress, and I'm supposed to say she. No, I'm not fucking doing that. No,
well,
I don't.
Isn't it that it's? I mean, who's forcing you to do that? Who's forcing you to say him? I mean, isn't it a situation where you meet this person, and if you get, I mean, if you're having a conversation where you're using language, obviously you're maybe friends or you're introducing for the first time, and if they ask, "Oh, would you refer to me as her?"
No, because you can't control what I say.
Yeah, but
because what are the chances that I'm going to call that bloke, for example, she and her to his face? Not very likely. So it's likely when they're not even going to be in the same room and I'm supposed to say their preferred pronouns. It's ideological.
So and someone that's trans you meet for the first time and they say, "Oh, would you mind referring to me as her?" You just wouldn't do it on principle.
I wouldn't do it because it's not right. It's not right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, that's your right, Anna. That's your right. I mean, it's not something I do. I mean, I don't believe by law that person is a woman.
But this is where we're going.
But I will, if they ask me to, will refer to them as her because it's a polite thing to do.
There's one thing between being polite, and this is the thing, because by being British, we like to be polite. Oh, excuse me. But how far do we take that? And I'm sorry, but I know blokes who have said they're women. I can't see women. I just can't see it. And I can't force myself to change that subconsciousness in my brain to go, that's a woman. It just doesn't. It doesn't clock like that. We haven't got this far in humanity by, and people say misgendering. Is it misgendering or correctly sexing a person? Because I don't buy into this gender identity at all. It is ideological, fictitious. It is dangerous. It's dangerous to anyone who transitions. And, you know, for example, right, if someone is schizophrenic is hearing voices in their head, am I then supposed to affirm it? Yeah, you're hearing those voices in your head. No, of course you fucking wouldn't. No, there's something clearly wrong with you. We need to get you some proper support.
So you're
Why am I
saying
going to do that?
someone that's transgender is mentally ill?
Yeah, they are
Is that what
mentally
you're
ill.
saying?
Yeah. There's often a lot of problems with gender dysphoria, but for a lot of it, particularly male to female, as they call it, transitioners, is autogynephilia, which is a paraphilia, which means that they get their kicks out of themselves as being women.
So what's in your opinion is the best way to help someone that feels that they're a woman trapped in a man's body?
I would definitely put them in therapy and not gender affirming therapy. There's either something in their childhood that's contributed towards this. There could be body dysmorphia. It could just be a plain old paraphilia, it's like autogynephilia. They're just kind of naturally inclined to feel that way. But it doesn't give them the right to then start demanding that I refer to them as such and such.
Well,
Or that,
but I mean,
or using the same spaces as me.
but I mean, this comes back to freedoms, doesn't it? Really, I mean, freedom of speech and freedom to do what we want to do. You know, if I want to put on a dress, live my life as a woman, you know, I should be free.
What does that mean?
To do that?
What does it mean to live as a woman?
With friends and family and people around me to refer to me as a well. I'm not saying it should be forced. I don't think by law that you should be, by law, you should call me a woman if I transgender. Yeah. But it's just friends and family associating with you as a woman if that's what you want in life.
But
you can't demand it. You can't demand it.
Yeah. But what does that mean? Like,
well, it means that some people are born with there's obviously something there where they feel like they're a woman and they've spent their whole life feeling like they're a woman, but they're in a man's body. I mean,
how would they know they're a woman if they're not a woman?
I don't understand what.
So they're born a man. You're a man. You're born a woman. You're a woman. Well, you girl to woman, boy to man. What does it mean, A, to live as a woman? And how would a man know what it's like to feel like a woman?
Well, I don't know. I've never been in that situation, so I can't really answer. But there are people in this world.
No scientific evidence for that whatsoever. You cannot be born in the wrong body. You are born with one body or another. And that's it. You can't change that. I'm not saying we start telling all, these blokes who think they're women, you're not allowed to wear a dress. You wear what the fuck you want, sweetheart.
Well, that's where I get a little bit worried with. I mean, maybe I misconstrued what you were saying, Anna, when you were saying that, they sort of need therapy and.
Oh God, no, they do need help. I absolutely am vehemently in support of getting people help when they need it.
I mean, they got the highest rates of suicide, haven't they, trans people?
Exactly, and it's no better post-op. Within 10 years, a lot of them are still at the same rate, even further than that. Gender clinics in, I think, where was it? Holland or somewhere. Quite a prominent one in Europe. When they've released studies, the rates of men who have gone through the full surgery to create this cavity, because that's not a vagina. Vagina is a very different thing. You can only be a female to have a vagina. You can only be a man to have a penis. Creating a mimic of that does not make it that thing. Do you see what I mean?
But I mean, these people are free to do what they want to do to their own bodies, right? I mean, if they want to invert their penis into what looks like a vagina, then that's up to them, right? If they want to do that.
It's up to them, but it's not good. It's life-shortening. It's stressful. The dilation process, everything. It's terrible for their body. The risks of cancers go sky high. I don't really want to fund that. I'd rather fund them to be able to get help to go, okay, I might be just an effeminate man. I might be gay. I might just have a paraphilia. Let's work on that. But if you want to grow out your hair, if you want to wear wigs, if you want to wear dresses, by all means. If you want to call yourself Rebecca, that's absolutely fine. But there's a point where their freedom starts encroaching on women's rights. That's a problem. And I know there's some experience after being sexually harassed borderline assaulted, I don't know where the line goes, after a bloke who identified himself as a woman followed me into a toilet and shoved his hand down my top to grab my breasts. I know what that's like, and it's fucking scary. He was bigger than me, he was taller than me, and yeah.
That's horrific, Anna. I'm really sorry that happened to you.
It happened, but this is
explains
commonplace.
why you've got a dog in the fight in this, doesn't it? I guess. But I mean that's yeah. I mean, this is where it goes over, isn't it? Because this is what I don't like. Where I mean, no one is advocating for perverts to put on a dress and go into a women's toilet and assault people.
But when a majority of male to female people aren't doing any surgery and it's just a case of autogynephilia, then that's a problem, because that is a whole host of different things. It's not just a case of they're getting the rocks off as themselves being a woman. It's a case of things like they like the idea of interfering in women's spaces. They like to be in women's sports. They like to make sure that women know that they're there.
Yeah.
And it's not good. Look, if they were advocating third spaces, yeah, fucking go for it, mate. But they're not. They're advocating so people, women and children have to put up with that. And I think that's a huge problem. Yeah, they say, it's all, men, all these rapists, they're gonna hurt us. Bullshit. There might be some blokes like that, granted, not gonna lie about that. But I'm afraid it shouldn't be a problem that's transferred then onto us. It's not fair. It's just not fair at all.
Yeah, and this is an area that I actually talked about on one of my videos before. I lost a couple of subscribers because of it as well, if you can imagine. It's a really bizarre thing. But I'd done a video about when Ricky Gervais got in trouble about his jokes on his special, and it was about the women's bathroom thing. Do you know the joke? I'm sure you probably know the joke, right?
She raped you with her penis. Exactly, that one.
Yeah. And my point is that I'm a massive Ricky Gervais fan. He's one of my favourite comedians.
He's brilliant, and
I absolutely adore the guy. I love the guy. But people didn't understand the target of the joke. The target of the joke was over-the-top trans activists, not transgender people. The joke was aimed at people that are more pissed off about a pronoun not being used right than someone being raped. That was the joke, and it was a hilarious joke. Okay.
But this is the world we're living in now. It is more offensive.
This opens up a can of worms, because I don't have the answer to the age-old. It always gets brought up, doesn't it? The women's bathrooms thing.
You don't let any man in it, no matter what he thinks he is. You do not let men in there.
Because I completely understand that women do not want to take the chance of something happening, like you just said yourself, and it's men abusing the system. I think that some of these people are not even got transgender tendencies. They're just perverts that want to take opportunities to put a dress on and go into women's areas where they're understood.
That's autogynephilia.
And I understand why women are upset about this. I don't have the right answer in that area. I really don't. I mean, but it is a strange one, because
I do, and it is simply. It's not just bathrooms, though. For us women, it's not just bathrooms. It's a place that, like in a nightclubs, that I should be able to go to get away from blokes that try to fill me up.
Sorry, I'm not trivialising bathrooms. I'm saying the only area that we're still really unclear on how to solve this issue is bathrooms.
To me, it's very simple. You are born one sex or another, and you use the bathroom that is according to your birth sex. I don't think it's right that women who think they're men go into men's bathroom. I don't. But the type of risks is not the same as when a man goes into a woman's bathroom. I can't tell which one's genuine, which one's not. How am I supposed to tell? That puts a lot of pressure on women and girls to be able to do that. And I know from experience. People think, you get like the Dylan Mulvaney, the guy who prances around and it's just like, oh, I'm a girl. This is girl things. It's just like, fuck off, Jesus Christ. Some of us, most of us, in fact, any woman I've met has never been prancing around in meadows, blah, blah, blah. It's a mockery. It's woman face. And it is offensive. And, if you want to be offensive, that's fine. But there's a point where you're offensive there's a point where you're infringing on my rights to be able to use a single sex only toilet or the changing room.
Yeah, this issue does come up a lot with bathrooms, doesn't it? It's, like I say, it's the only area that I really don't know how to solve that, because I completely understand why women are not happy about it.
But look at the attacks that people get. Have you heard of Posey Parker or Kelly J. King? She does a speakers corner every month in London. She also does other events. One took actually place in Brighton, and because she stands up for women's rights to have single sex spaces, and that's pretty much it. She's not advocating for trans people to get hurt. No one I've ever heard has wanted trans people to get hurt. There were people that turned up shouting in a baby's face, saying, "You're going to be a little fascist," or something along those lines, saying to this dad who was there, "Oh, you're raising a little fascist." This is where we are. This is where we are. And it's disgraceful. All for the fact that, and this wasn't by trans women, it should call them. This is by women who just think, well, fuck knows what they're thinking.
Well, I mean, this what comes back to the start of the video, doesn't it? Just this constant need to have a team and to just hate on the other side. Everyone finds their team. You know, I'm going to be pro transgender and I'm going to fight every cause I can. You find it with vegans that you know, you find it with flat earthers or, you know, climate change. Everyone seems to find their team. And I had a team, Anna. When the referendum happened, oh my God, I was like anti-Brexit team all the way. And I fought every cause and I got into every comment section and argued with anyone that I could. And obviously, I'm never going to like Brexit. That's never going to hide from me. But I think I have established over the last few weeks, and I think the holiday that I had, where I went away for 3 weeks, done me the world of good, where I could just take that time away and just realise, what's it all for? And why are we arguing? It doesn't help anything. Arguments online, and you know, this comes to the original question of the video. I mean, how do we heal this divide? How do we stop this hate with everyone hating and everyone joining up in teams and fighting their cause and just hating on people? I don't know. Is it?
I think some of it's an agree to disagree. We're always going to find things to argue about. And some things we're going to, you know, a lot of things that we don't agree with, which is quite a lot, but there's stuff we agree on. The fundamental thing is that we both want the best for people, for ourselves and for other people like us. You know, working. Doesn't matter what colour you are, what fucking sex you are, what supposed gender identity you are. People want the best for people. And
that's so true, Anna. That's so true. And you know, we all just want the same things. We want to live in a safe society. We want good education for our kids. We want good healthcare, and we don't want to live on our knees. You know, this is the thing with politics. I'm quite happy for big business to be multi-billionaires. I'm quite happy with that. Just don't let us live on our knees. You know, you know, I just want to be able to have decent healthcare, decent housing. Be able to go on a holiday now and again. You know, I just want the basic things, and that's what we all want in life. And I think
I started losing a lot of faith in the NHS when my ex, bless him, he had an accident. Oh God, it was vicious. It was no one's fault. Well, it was the van driver's fault, unfortunately. Was it you? No, it wasn't you.
was it a bright orange van?
No, it wasn't a bright orange van.
Okay,
but this guy, he opened his door and my ex was cycling about 25 miles an hour, smashed his face right down there. So now he's got a nice Action Man scar down his face, and blood all over the road. It was a sight. I'll never ever forget it in my life. And when he had to stay overnight, the lady there wouldn't change his bandage on his face. So like, oh, I shouldn't really do that. She's a fucking nurse. You're supposed to know how to deal with this stuff. Like, it's gone down the absolute toilet.
Probably an agency nurse. I mean, I know quite a bit about the NHS. My wife is a nurse. They get a lot of agency nurses. But you know what I'm going to say to you, Anna, don't you? You know what I'm going to say. 12 years of Tory government. 12 years.
Would
of Tory
Labour have been
government.
any different? Because I really don't think. I don't think Labour would
Look,
be any
well,
different. I mean, in the 90s, when Blair went on a fucking credit card spending spree and spent all that money, and yeah, the country was great until the bill rolled in,
but
and then austerity happens because we had to pay it back.
So I do have to butt in there, Anna.
Okay,
I mean,
yeah, no, that's fine.
the Conservatives during the 2010s spent way more than Labour. I mean, you just go check it out. Labour spent loads of money during the 90s and the 2000s. The spending was going up and up and up, but the Conservatives carried on that trend. And the only difference between the two parties is how you pay for that spending. The Conservatives will traditionally slash benefits, cut public spending, police, healthcare, and Labour will raise taxes. That's the main difference between the two parties, really. But it comes back to the two-party system, and I'm never going to tell you that Labour are going to come in power and everything will be amazing and we'll all be happy in this utopia England land of Labour. I'm never going to say that. It's, for me, every single election, it's like, okay, it's the choice between the two. Which one's going to be slightly better? And for me, as a working person, it's always going to be Labour for me. The Conservatives will always look after big business. Jacob Rees-Mogg in his big house in Devon, that's who they're looking after. And that's what they're doing right now with these tax cuts. They know they're fucked. They know they're probably going to be out in 2 years, but they're just going to please their Tory donors as much as possible, give them as much tax breaks as possible, so they're on their side for the next election. But Labour are not going to bring prosperity to this country. I'm not an idiot. I'm not a fool. But these are the two choices that we have. And this is the voting system that we have in this country. When every single election rolls around, it's like, oh, okay, well, which one's going to be slightly better? But when I go back to if we adopt a PR voting system like every single other Western country seems to do, apart from America, you can imagine this, Anna. Imagine voting for a political party that you're excited about, that actually is a smaller party, that will really look out for the things that bother you, because the things that bother you are obviously the gender politics. So, you know, with a PR voting system, you could have a situation where you have a Labour government with a coalition of a party that is really into gender politics. So Labour will go and do their policies, but your party that are into gender politics will basically just tug them now again and go, hang on, you can't be doing this crazy woke stuff. You need to back down on that. But we
had, I mean, Penny Mordaunt, and she was very much on the trans women and women. You're a fucking conservative, mate. What are you fucking talking about? No conservative really thinks like, no conservative whatsoever thinks in that kind of way. Playing to this identity politics, it's just like, and that lost her all the fucking votes, really. Because
I mean, this question, I don't even understand why politicians are being asked this question in the first place, Anna.
Because it gives people a basis of whether they're living in reality. Unfortunately, none of them are living in reality.
People throw this at me all the time when I talk to people in comment section that don't agree with me. They end it with, "Well, what's a woman?"
Yeah.
So what question is that? Yeah. Do you want to talk to me about politics? Do you want to talk to me about? I don't get what sort of question that is. It makes no sense to me. What are you talking? You want me to go to secondary school biology? You want to talk that? I don't get why politicians are being thrown this question, and this is what frustrates me a lot.
I think it's because it's such a basic question that if you're answering it in such a just ridiculous way, it's now gotten to that point. We are at that point where now it's just like, if you can't even define what a woman is, we're in a very bad position here.
Well, this is the problem with the voting system that we have. So the Labour Party, they have to appeal to the far left of the party, and they have to appeal to the centre. So a question like that, they're like, oh, well, I need the votes from these people, but I also need the votes from these people.
Just want to stop you right there, because I can't help myself. This comment This is quite a funny one. Make sure you carry contraception if you're drinking alcohol tonight, because you don't want to hear this sound at 9 months' time. Wow. Did you just assume my gender, mate? You fucking bigot.
What? I don't even understand. What? I don't get that. I don't know.
I think it's just being silly.
Okay.
But you know, it's, you know, I've got people on it who are more on my side, people more on your side, and whatever. And you know, we've both reached out in good faith, and people don't like what each other has to say. And I really don't know the answer to it. People are going to be keyboard warriors. If they want to come and have an open panel, I think it might be a good one. People to drop in.
Oh God, I think it would descend into mayhem. And
well, I'm not saying
some of the comments that you've been pulling out.
Like, yeah, well, this is like, I mean, to know that there are only two sexes and that you can't change them is not a radical belief. That's what's been pushed. To know reality is now almost sinful. It's a cardinal sin to the more extremists.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I just feel that this stuff that you're talking about, like you say, the extreme, it is the extreme, and it's a minority. In my belief, it's a minority on Twitter. The average person is not talking about this stuff on the street. You speak to, no one's talking about it. It's these crazies on Twitter, and because we have social media now, everyone's been talking garbage for the last 20 years. But because we have Twitter now, they can share it to millions and millions of people.
And that's the problem, because a lot of radical leftists speak on behalf of moderate leftists. And when I say leftists, I generally do mean the radical end. Because, you know, I know loads of old school lefties like yourself, and, you know, they're like, what the fuck is going on? I thought we were trying to do something here, but it's been so sidetracked by the radical other side.
Yeah.
You know, I don't like... One thing that I get called quite often on Twitter or whatever, Nazi. I'd love to know how I am a Nazi.
Yeah. And I get called a communist.
Yeah, that's it. It's crazy, and it's just
it's a way for them to shut you down without actually having a point of view. That straight away they call you a Nazi or they call me a communist. Yeah.
That's it. Like, I think you got more. You know, not every socialist idea is a bad idea. Like, I am fully up for a decent universal healthcare system. I really am, and I'm quite happy to pay taxes for that. But our NHS is fucked. It needs complete reform from the ground up. It needs to be taken down. These super hospitals didn't work. Privatising things, I think, was a need because of certainly for the 90s when we had mass immigration. We've only got so much infrastructure. It's just mathematics. And we couldn't keep up, and the privatising probably was the easiest way to go about it.
I totally agree with you on housing when it comes to immigration. You can't hide that. There's only a certain amount of housing, and the population has grown significantly since the 90s. There's no getting away from that. Drain on the NHS, I can't be on board with, though, Anna, because the immigrants that are coming over here are young workers that are not using the hospital. They're paying tax. They're paying plenty of national insurance, 70 quid a month. But I don't think there's so much a drain on the NHS. But I'm totally with you on housing, though. I completely agree.
When I say infrastructure, it's not just the NHS, it is housing. It's like across the board. The more you have using the system, no matter how little, how large, it's going to affect it. And we haven't got the infrastructure to deal with that. So it doesn't surprise me that it gets sold off. I mean, obviously there's crony capitalism involved, and I'm not in agreement with that whatsoever. But there's only so much resources that we have. We are not an endless pit of resources.
This is why, as a society, we can't keep chasing economic growth, which is Liz Truss right now, right? This Tory government obsessed with economic growth, everything. They don't give a shit about the energy crisis and people on their knees and food banks and stuff like that. They're just obsessed with economic growth. And economic growth means more immigrants, more workers,
Yeah.
more
It's not
building,
good.
more everything. And that's what that's what this
Yeah.
government are obsessed with. But yeah, when it comes to immigration, like I say, housing, it's just impossible. You can't keep it. We're only a small island. We can't keep building, and we can't have an insane amount of immigration. But
No, we
for me,
can't.
for me, when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to roads, when it comes to all these other things, any immigrant that comes over here that is a tax-paying member
Oh
of
yeah.
society
No problem with that.
is
No problem
paying
with that.
for this stuff, which the majority of them are. And yeah, I don't get on board with this that they're coming over to sponge. The government allow that when they don't know how to deal with immigrants, and they put them up in hotels, and they don't. As soon as they come over it, if they're claiming asylum while that is going through, get them working, get them paying tax,
But
But
the
anyway, we're
problem
going
is
back to immigration again,
yeah,
aren't we?
yeah, we are. Just looking at some of the comments, I know that like I was selling off of the council properties. Yeah, that wasn't a good thing. Not gonna lie. It's a great opportunity if you could do it, but it was a short-term solution.
Well,
To people
housing,
who
yeah.
wanted,
I mean, for me,
yeah,
housing problems started with Thatcher selling off all the council houses, giving them to private landlords that now own them all and charge extortionate rents for people. I mean, it's just more and more anti-capitalist Tory shit. For me, like, I'm not an anti-capitalist. Okay, when it comes to
everyone's a fucking capitalist in the West.
Well, exactly, but there are a few things that I think that we should deal with as a country, as a government. Healthcare, which we already have, and decent, affordable housing. Now, I want people to own their own homes. I own my own home. I worked fucking hard to get this house. I've got nothing against people owning their own homes, but we need to have decent, affordable housing for people that can't afford to buy their own home.
Yeah.
Healthcare, housing, education, they should not be anywhere near capitalism and profit. They should be nowhere near profit. I'm quite happy for everything else. Your iPhone, you know, go capitalist wild. I don't care. But those three things, healthcare, education, and housing, we need to have those.
I mean, the education system is a complete failure.
Yeah.
To the point where, I mean, I've got a young daughter. I'm not going to be sending her to school because she won't get educated. She'll be indoctrinated with social justice nonsense. No, I want her to be able to read, write. I want her to be able to do good maths. I want her to be well versed in history and geography, the important things. Yeah. And the schools ain't doing that anymore. They're not doing that anymore.
Requires funding and tax money. I mean, this recent budget from Liz Truss. Okay, she's going to be in for the next 2 years.
We're in for just kept Boris.
I'm with you. I fucking hate the guy. I can't stand him. But I knew when he went, you're only going to get worse. But this is another level. What we've got with Liz Truss, like I said earlier, no one wants this. Doesn't matter whether you're Conservative, Labour. No one wants.
When they were talking about tax cuts for the rich, but benefits being cut for the poor, it's like no, because at the end of the day, I mean, these cost of living payments, these winter fuel payments, you know, they're being pushed. They're being given for a fucking reason. It's because people can't realistically live, and it takes quite a while to settle in. Even if you get a job, if I was to get a better paid job now, it would take me a while to get settled into that because money is not just a case of, oh, I've got a job, therefore I've got money. You know, there's other things. And so there's a reason why we have these cost of living payments. And, you know, they just want to, oh, yeah, we're going to cut benefits for the poorest. It's just like, but then why are you giving us this fucking 600 payments over 2 fucking installments then? What's the point in that? No, I don't agree with Liz Truss at all. I think government is just shite.
It's mental, Anna. Like, I keep banging on about this 65 billion, but I just have to because it explodes my brain. What other job do you go into and in your first week you lose the company 65 billion and you still remain in your job? What other job do you do that? But thing is, this has got to be paid for, 65 billion. And where's it going to come? Over the next 2 years, you're going to see that money is going to be cut from the NHS. It's going to be cut from your schools. Your kids are going to be coming home from school. They're going to be complaining about no books, having to share equipment. The school's falling apart. There's no funding for this. That's the only way they can pay for this. So tax cuts to the rich, and then slashing the public services in this country have already gone through 12 years of austerity and cuts to the bare minimum. Local councils, your local high street is just an absolute disaster place.
And they spend it on a load of shit. And you just think, why are you doing that? You're introducing all the, like, the NHS, I think it was only, I say only, at least 16 million on equality and diversity managers. Is that what they're called? Officers. Why do you need that in the fucking NHS? Just serve them, you fucking idiots. Why do you need that kind of training? You're a nurse, you're a doctor, you fix who comes in the fucking door. Why does that doctor or nurse need this fucking bullshit from fucking Identity Politics 101 down the road? They don't.
Yeah. Well, like I say, I know a little bit about the NHS through my wife, and it's not a situation where you just throw money at it. The whole institution is completely screwed.
Yeah.
You know, the amount of managers the place have is just useless. University educated managers that come in and have never seen to a patient in their life, you know.
Exactly.
Back 20 days. I do hate doing this sentence where I go back in the old days. I hate myself for saying it because I always like to look forward and be progressive. But back in the old days, okay, you had your nurse matrons that run the ward. Yeah, not some guy from, yeah, the whole thing just been run absolutely terrible. And I will go back into another 12 years of Tory government. I will sneak that one in again. I have to do it, Anna. I'm so sorry.
That's fine. Don't worry about it. I just looking at some of the comments. So people who use the term woke without explaining what it means. I cared about people who are experiencing injustice or discrimination. Is that what you have an issue with? I have an issue when it's being bombarded and used incorrectly. Yes, I have a problem with wokism in that respect. If you see injustice, right, if you are a decent person, you'll call that shit out. You don't want to see that shit. Why is this being rammed down our throats? Any decent person would be that way, but it's not being used in the way that, you know, oh, we just need to be nicer to each other, because that's not the case. It's demonizing a lot of people. It's displacing people. It's a horrible, horrible new religion that is without fucking what's it called? Penance. There's no forgiveness.
Yeah.
You know, it's seen as like the wokeism. Oh, it's you're stale, male, and pale. That seems to be a big one. Oh, you're stale, male, and pale. So you're judging someone by their sex and their race. You're assuming everything about them based on that. Tell me how that is not fucking sexist and not racist.
I mean, I have to stick in the same position on this one, and I understand the issues that you're complaining about, and there are genuine issues here. I still just see it as a minority on Twitter. I may be wrong, but I see it as a minority on Twitter.
Unfortunately,
I don't see these
captured
people in
a lot of the that they this is something that I will chat with you, not on live, but there is a reason why I know this stuff, you know, and I know it firsthand. But it's judging people because, you know, oh, like, was it the last Labour conference? They were saying, you know, it's stale, male, and pale, it's too many white men, etc., etc. Are you suggesting that all white men think exactly the same? Because that to me is racist. That to me is sexist.
Who's saying that? Who's saying there's too many white people?
Well, if you look at the Labour conference, it was last year. I can't remember who it was, and it's just like we want to, you know, want to see less white men. I want to hear from less white men.
But the question I'm asking is, who is saying that? Is it some loony on Twitter, or is it?
No. This was somebody in the Labour government, and that to me is a problem. Yeah, and to me, it's just like, are we not in a position where we don't take these characteristics and judge people by them. Are we not judging it by our actions?
Yeah.
No, apparently not. We've regressed back to this kind of tribal mentality of, well, you're white and male, so you must think this. You must automatically be racist. You must automatically be sexist. It's not true.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are a lot. Not a lot. I was about to say a lot. There's not. There are people out there that do seem to be obsessed with diversity, and
and it's not diversity of thought. It's never diversity of thought, because people like me get cancelled left, right, and centre. If I say what I say, generally, it's, my God, she's evil. She's racist. I've already seen it. She's fucking racist, transphobic. I don't give a shit. Say that. Couldn't give a fuck.
But I would. There is people that are obsessed with diversity, and diversity by merit is important. Young kids, ethnic kids growing up do need to see. Like, I know, I've got Indian and Pakistani friends that oh shit, I'm going to forget her name, but there was an Indian Blue Peter presenter back when we were kids.
Connie Hugh?
Yes.
Because she was my favourite. She was so lovely.
And for my Indian friends, it was amazing because they'd never really seen anyone that looked like them on TV before, and it was like, oh wow, someone from my background is on TV, and it's great. And I think diversity is really important, but same with most things in life. People go too far the other way, and they try and force diversity, not on merit.
But she was a natural, and she is a gifted entertainer.
Yeah,
she was my favourite on Blue Peter because she was just so engaging. She was great with children, and I didn't see this fucking, oh, she's a different colour from me. So it's just like, it's Connie. She's fucking great.
Yeah, and I'm just emphasising the point that it means so much to people from ethnic background. My son is mixed race, and so I know a little bit about this, and it's really important for young kids growing up to see people, especially if they're living in the country or whatever, and they're surrounded by white kids. It's important to see people on TV of their race. But like I say, the problem becomes, like you were saying, where if people try and force ethnic groups into a government that don't merit that role, so if someone gets a job as health secretary, not the person that is best qualified for the job, but someone because they fit the role of a certain, then you've got problems. You definitely got problems.
But this is where we're getting to that point now, and it's, if we're to start a band and we needed a singer, right? And they happen.
I got the bass.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go. But it's if that person sung like a fucking angel, who gives a shit? Do they get on with the band members? What's their merit? Who cares about the rest of it? But this isn't what's being pushed on children now. Now it's a case of, you have to have this representation no matter who it is. And you think, well, why aren't people getting these jobs based on their merit? Like, I'm pretty sure Connie Hugh wasn't. She was just fucking great.
Yeah. It's just getting that balance. And that's where I think that most people agree with what we just said. Most people will agree with that. You get the job on merit, and forced diversity is not good. But this, I keep coming back to this voting system we have. But this is where the Labour Party as a whole is the downfall in this voting system, because they have to appeal to those people. In a fairer democracy voting system, those people that we keep talking about, those minorities, they have their own voting party. They're people that they can vote for, and this is where we have problems in the Labour Party, because they have to accommodate both sides. And this is the problem that I have when Labour get tarred with this woke brush, even though they may have policies that can really help people like you and me, but they have to appeal to these guys because they need their votes. And it's just a sad state of affair that we have right now. The system that we have, the two-party system that we have, They have to appeal to these people. And
lefty voter, won't someone think of the children? No, seriously, why won't people think of kids? No one seems to think of the harm that all this stuff does to kids.
I mean, I haven't seen it, to be honest, with my son at school, and I live in Brighton, and I'm sure you know what my town is like. I haven't witnessed this gender stuff being shoved down his throat, and you know I've brought him up quite liberal. I mean, we used to live 2 blocks away from St James's Street in Brighton, which is basically a street full of gay bars. From a very early age, we walk down the street and it's common to see guys kissing. It's common to see trans people around. He's kind of grown up with this being the norm, but
yeah.
I haven't experienced any propaganda being shoved down his throat at school, and you'd expect that in Brighton.
Yeah, well, it's when they start putting tampons in men's toilets and things like that. You think, what the hell is going on here? You know,
is that happening?
It happened in Brighton, yeah.
In what? In a gay bar? Because I get that.
No, in a school.
A school in Brighton put tampons in.
They were trying. At least they were trying to advocate for it. Oh, to the people who are like, well, it didn't happen in my school. It's happening. It's happening, darlings. Just to let you know. But you know,
that's a new one to me. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think probably someone's advocating for it because there's always crazy loons out there.
Yeah, and you think it's just. You think that resource could have gone on books, something more responsible.
Yeah, but did it happen? Did it actually happen?
I don't know whether it came to fruition.
For it.
I think people are advocating for it, but it's Brighton, and I'm sorry, but I have no faith in Brighton. I loved the place. I used to love the place.
I love my city.
It was a beautiful place, but now I'm worried I'll get stabbed if I walk down the street. You know what I mean?
What? No way. Brighton is one of the safest places in the country.
Honestly,
I live here.
Working.
It's one of the most safest places in the country. Honestly, it really is. I live here.
If you have the wrong opinion.
Well, maybe if you're walking down the streets going, "You're not a woman," then maybe you might encounter some problems.
That would mean I should absolutely be stabbed. That should absolutely call for me to be stabbed as a result of that. You know, this is what we're getting to that point, and I just think when I went to Brighton last, a few years ago, and I was a mobile advisor, and I was actually pretty worried about the homeless stuff going on in Brighton.
Insane. Yeah.
Oh, it's terrible. I thought, Jesus Christ, what's happened in the last 10 years? You know, it's just homeless people everywhere. And I thought,
what's happened in the last 10 years, Anna? What's happened in the last 10 years?
Oh, the Tories are shit.
Government.
But the local government, is it Green?
Huh? Yeah, but they don't control national. They don't control. But they
control local, and they should be better up on this stuff.
Oh well. Anyway, I'm not going to defend the Green Council in Brighton. I never voted for them, and they're no good.
That's fair enough.
They're terrible. I voted for, when I was in Central Brighton, Green MP Caroline Lucas, but I didn't vote for the local council because they're terrible.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, but I love my city.
It's a very beautiful place.
If you love music, then you love Brighton. In any day of the week, there is 100 different venues playing all sorts of different music. I love it. I love the culture. I love the diversity. I love the music. And it's young. And I love Brighton. Funny thing is, I will just mention.
I'm an old 31-year-old. I'm just like, calm down, children.
But going back to when I'd done a video about Paz and the guy's done one back about me. Is it Reverend Simon? I think
Simon, yeah.
Yeah. His video was very interesting. It was quite funny because talking about Brighton, because he decided to go on a rant about Brighton. And everything he was ranting about was everything that I love about Brighton. He was saying the absolute opposite. But yeah, he's an interesting chap. This is the problem that I had actually with that little spit, because I put my views out on YouTube, and I have no problem. Of course, I don't have any problem with anyone criticising my politics or my views. But what he done in his video, he just decided to just attack me and just put out some wild accusations. Apparently, I'm only on YouTube to get laid. my YouTube demographic, by the way, is males between 50 and 60. And just started, you know, calling me a communist, calling me a left, all the things that we just discussed.
Yeah.
Flagging off Brighton. But not once did he actually like pick me up on any of my videos or my content or my ideas or my politics. It's just all name calling. You know? And this is,
this is where we've got to.
I'd be really happy if you wanted to have a conversation about my politics, but it's
I think you should have a chat to Simon.
I think he's a bit too crazy for me. I enjoyed his video. I really enjoyed it.
He's not crazy. He's not crazy to speak to.
But I can't see how I can have a level-headed conversation with him.
I tell you what, you could, and you
probably going on the video of what I've seen, I don't think I can. I mean, he's like I say, these crazy wild accusations. Like I say, calling me a communist.
Yeah, I think like because to me, some of the videos that I've seen, I think are very far left leaning, and me and him can agree on that. But some of the things that we say, they're far right leaning to you. So we always, and you know, YouTube is entertainment.
But yeah, him I'm not so sure on. But
yeah, he won't fuck you about, Simon. I know him personally. He won't fuck you about.
The reason that I sort of done a video about Paz is because I actually thought that he seemed like a reasonable guy that might be, because my whole aim is to have a conversation like we've had tonight. That was my whole aim. I discovered his channel. I was chatting with him in the comment section and I was like, you know, can we maybe have a conversation sometime? He didn't seem that keen. So I thought I'd put a video out about him. Because he seemed like someone that maybe might be interested and could be able to have a level-headed conversation.
He's been through a lot as our Paz. Like he's had a lot of shit from. It's up to him to say what he's been through, but I know that he's been through a lot of shit from people who got obsessed with him.
Well, he mentioned it in the video that he made about me in response. And it wasn't intentional by him, but he started off the beginning of the video talking about this horrific guy that, you know, got his address and threatened his family.
Yeah,
and just by accident, I know he didn't do this intentionally, but by accident, it sounded like he was talking about me. And then suddenly I got shed loads of abuse from people in my comment section giving me loads of shit. How can you go after his family? I'm like, what? I haven't done anything.
No.
I haven't done anything. It wasn't his fault. It wasn't his fault, but it's just the way that the video went, because he had my picture up there and stuff, and people thought he was talking about me.
He wouldn't have meant
it sounded horrific. It sounded really horrible. And he probably just straight away assumes that I'm the same kind of person as this person that's been threatening.
I think that's what makes him wary about speaking to other people. I can't say for sure, but I don't blame him after what he's been through.
Hey, I totally understand.
I'm sure you would agree. Neither side, no one should ever be doxxed or harassed. I mean, the one reason you came up actually was Alex Belfield. Now that's the guy is fucking off his tits.
Well, he's the ultimate of. I've been doing videos about him for the past year, trying to expose him for the fraud that he is. That a year ago was when I noticed that he was trying to get his viewers to PayPal him in the intents of suing the BBC, when really it's his fucking stalking classes against him.
He's a jilted lover.
He's mental.
Like I think Simon put it the best when he said he's like a jilted lover of the BBC, and he's obsessed.
He's mental. I'm sure he's probably closet homosexual.
He is homosexual.
He's absolutely unhinged. But one thing that I do want to clear up, actually, because Paz in the video that he done in response to mine, I think he got the wrong end of the stick when I was comparing him with Alex Belfield. I was not comparing Paz to Alex Belfield as a person. I was not. I was comparing the two guys' content, because that undeniably is similar. They both talk about the woke stuff, the immigration, you know, I was just saying that they do the same content. I do not think that
Yeah.
Paz is unhinged like Alex
No,
Belfield is. Okay,
not at all.
but Alex
There are some
Belfield,
nutters more on the right, like Alex Belfield, and what
yeah,
he
but
done was
Alex
disgusting.
Belfield is the pinnacle of everything that I hate on YouTube, and I think he's like the originator of someone. Now I understand the irony of this because I pick up a camera and talk to it, but he's the pinnacle of someone that just picks up a camera and gets people angry about what I deem non-issues.
Yeah.
And he's the expert of it, and he has made a shit ton of money from it. And his followers, like I say, I just can't stand there. At the time, I was viewing this a year ago, where you look through the comment section and pensioners are giving him their last 20 quid
Oh, it's awful, isn't it?
to send to him. And it's like, he's exactly the same as that dodgy double glazing bloke that comes around to your nan and tries to persuade her that she needs every single new window in her house replaced when they're perfectly fine. You know, he's that person, but he's
a
brought it
shark.
onto YouTube. He's brought it onto YouTube.
He is
And
a shark.
a lot of people say
Absolutely.
that 5 years is too much. Maybe
No.
for the things that he got charged for, although maybe not. But if you take into account, I mean, just the defrauding 150 grand off of his viewers on the ruse of suing the BBC is just, that's worth 5 years in itself, without a doubt.
Well, yeah, this is it. It's, to me, with what I would consider to be fraud, he needs to be investigated for that big time.
Yeah,
big
and
time,
that's down to the people that he frauded. They can do that.
Yeah.
They can report him to PayPal.
Yeah, and I think action fraud is another one. And, you know, because the thing is these people that follow him, you get the ones which are really hardcore, that they've made some comments on my videos, because I made a video on Ian Lee, and I had Ian Lee supporters having a go. Alex Belfield, you're never going to win. It's YouTube, you're never going to win. And that's fair enough. You want to comment, go nuts. But I'd like to see you put your faces out there and do this. So, you know, that's the difference, you know. And, you know, I don't necessarily completely buy into Ian Lee, although I think, yeah, absolutely, Alex Belfield had it in for him. The way that he dealt with it, I think, well, if you did do these things and you're worried about your children, and specifically your children, why didn't you do more? Because when it comes to children, they are everything. And you're worried about your children's safety and you didn't do anything. Yeah, I'm a bit suspect on that. But like, I wish I never wish ill on anyone, but people got the wrong end of the stick, as like people do with you on your YouTube. They find the worst and they take it as, oh, you're hateful and bigoted, or you're an idiot. And fair enough, that's up to them. But
that's it, you know, this is the main thing. We have to separate the online world and the real world, because it's a goddamn awful cesspit online. And generally, when you talk to people, like I'm establishing today with you, Anna, when you talk to people, it's a whole different story.
Yeah, really absolutely. And when you look at these comments, one is, fuck this bitch, what the fuck are you talking to her? I love you too. I love doing that. If people mean like that, I'm just the other way. I'm just like, oh, I love you. Will you marry me?
Nice. They used to be my tactic. I worked 5 years on the train station on the gateway ticket thing. You used to get all abhorrent abuse from everyone, from drunks, from everyone, and my tactic was always just be super nice to them, and then they get confused and they don't know what to do. Like, I can't, he's being nice to me, what? And by the way, the worst abuse that I got was not from your drunks and your kids. It was from that Brighton lawyer on his way to London, that you're stopping him because he hasn't got a ticket and he feels entitled to come through. That's the worst abuse that you get from these people. Right, I'm conscious that we're coming up to a couple of hours now, so I think we might have to wrap this one up.
I think we will.
It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Yeah. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you. And honestly, it would be really good if you could talk to Simon, even just one-to-one. He's not the big horrible bloke he seems like in the video. He's very passionate about what he does, and he hears some things, and sometimes it's just, oh, he's this, that, and the other. It's just like, no, we need to be reasonable here. So, you know, he's not that bad. But have a think about it.
I'm open to thinking about it.
Yeah. That's fair enough. That's fair enough. I'm not going to start dragging your heels.
But yeah, it's been a really good conversation. Obviously, you know, we've disagreed on things. We've agreed on a lot of things as well. But most of all, you know, I've really enjoyed chatting to you. I think you're a really nice person, and
Yeah,
you
and
know,
you,
I
darling.
think you know, I think this could do some good. This is the first step towards healing this toxic political divide.
That's it.
I think it's
Absolutely.
a good start, and yeah, you invited me on your channel at times. You know, I'm happy to come on, and if you've got any other people that you think might be interested in chatting, if we can get together from different sides of the political spectrum, it'll be really good, I think. Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
Right.
Lovely, my darling. Will you take care? Have a good night's sleep, and
Yes.
I'll take it you're at work tomorrow.
Indeed, of course. Yeah.
Well, have a safe trip in your vans.
Cool. All right. Okay. Take care. Apologies to the viewers with the comments. I say this on every live stream. It's just mental out there. But yeah, I can't get used to dealing with the comments at the moment. I'm still quite new to live streams, and at the moment I just need to focus on conversating with you. And you know, by the sounds of it, it's getting pretty mental in there anyway. So
it does get a bit mad, but it's okay. Thank you ever so much for having me on, and I hope we speak again soon, darling.
Awesome. Right. Take care, guys. Take care, audience.
See you later. Take care. Bye.